The Bears won. The Bears won. They are 5-3. We'll get into all the craziness and shenanigans coming up. Shirley's not feeling good for some reason. I don't know what it is. I'll let LaKeena dissect it while I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. In the rest of the NFL, upsets galore, which affected the NFC North in particular. In baseball, we have the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series. Are we witnessing a dynasty before our eyes? In basketball, the Bulls' unbeaten streak to start the year is over. And we have the new baseball ballot for the Hall of Fame. And college football things are restored while other teams, you can say goodbye to your college football playoff hopes. That, in time permitting, Old School TV Monday on the Bears Victory Monday edition of Second City Sports, which starts right now. Welcome to a Bears Victory Monday edition of Second City Sports, the first one for the month of November. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brown. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to Bill and Bill Boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment game. And checking us out right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget, as much love given out always to the replay games. Checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto, where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will provide.
And we'll provide you some of the best here on Second City Sports in our first show of November. We got a loaded show here. We got college football, like Sid said. The contenders and pretenders have separated themselves. Also, we got college hoops. Remember, the first it starts today, so looking forward to that. It's time for me. We'll tell you some of the marquee games this week. The Dodgers go back to back after a great comeback in Games 6 and 7. Also, Old School TV Monday, a show that I think is very underrated. We'll talk about it. Hopefully, we'll have time to, because we have so much to do. The Bulls, their first loss of the season against the Knicks. So darn. No, but there might be a reason why they lost. Well, we'll get to that later on. Of course, a little again. Time for many. We got some hockey. Blackhawks a tough this week, but. We'll get to that as well. But first, Sid, we had our buddy Spiro Diaz on. If you guys saw the interview, go back and watch it on the replay from CBS. Who he had a Marshall and DB Kabwaba had the Bears-Bengals game yesterday. We told him that, they might get another good one. And, I mean, I don't think we had this in mind, though. 47-42, the Bears hold off the Bengals. 31 points between the two teams scored in the fourth quarter. Caleb Williams threw for 280 yards and 3 TDs, but it was the Kyle Manungai show, 176 rushing yards. Also, Colson Loveman gets his second 2 TD catches this season, including the game winner with just under about 35 seconds left. Joe Flacco looked like the old Joe Flacco from when he was at Baltimore. 4 TDs, 407 yards. The 2 interceptions, though, were killers, but Chase Brown, only 37 yards. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both had each had a combined 230 some odd yards. The defense, the special teams, they gave up the opening kickoff to start the game. And Well, and I was actually just listening to our buddies Layla Rahimi, Marshall Harris, and Mark Grody on the score. All three friends of the show, by the way. And well, one of the texters said that the MVP was the Bengals defense, and I gotta agree with whoever said that. God bless you, whoever said that, because that defense was just ugh, ugh. Even without Trey Hendrickson, that defense is just ugh. But Sid, I know you. I know we before we started recording, you said you had your concerns about this win. So have at it.
I'm gonna put on my Bob Costas hat as much as possible and play the role as the cynic. You gave up the opening kickoff return for the touchdown. I watched it live on the red zone. I'm not kind of, I did. I laughed out loud. I said, typical Chicago Bears. And then the game went on and on and on. And looking at deep into the numbers, of course, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. Because it's a worst kept secret. I do not watch Bears games live, but I was forced to watch the ending of it live. I'll get to that later. But I had a chance to get the game in perspective watching the replay last night. But watching via the app what was going on in the game, there's a bunch of things I didn't like, LaKeena. I know when was the last time the Bears scored 47 points? That's a trick in itself, but the things that I didn't like, the special teams, as I mentioned, you give up opening kickoff for a touchdown. You did not recover an onside kick, which I was one of the few people that I watched live on Red Zone that I was like, if they missed this onside kick, you're crazy. They missed an onside kick that everybody knew that Cincinnati was going for, in which they got. Number 3, yes, Montez Sweat got another sack, but outside of C.J. Gardner, you got to depend on your secondary to get a sack, and you let Joe Flacco throw for close to 500 yards. That's insane. And number 3, LaKeena, shout out to head coach Ben Johnson. Okay, was it entertaining to watch the offense, especially the way they responded? Yes, I'll get to that in a second. But you got to pull out your old bag of tricks against a piss poor Cincinnati team. I'm sorry, you're in desperation mode when you start to do that against a bad team. You're not well enough to even operate a normal offense. Why? I don't get it. And my real third complaint going to the special teams is Cairo Santos. Technically, he missed 2 kicks. One of them was called back due to a Cincinnati penalty, which I'll end up by wrapping up by saying this. Cairo Santos, you need your pink slip. You need your link card. You need to get the hell up out of here now. I'll take Jake Moody. I'll take Kevin Butler in his retirement right now. As long as he has a good enough leg to kick, I'll take him over Cairo Santos right now. Now the good. Caleb Williams looked like an above average quarterback. I believe no turnovers, 3 touchdown passes, 80 yards. Very much improved from the last 2 weeks. Gotcha. As I told you on the show for the last couple of weeks, Kyle Monangai had his best career game so far as a pro as you approach the midway point in the season. Shout out to the offensive line. And shout out to Colston Lovely. It had to take a Cole Kmet injury for the Bears coaching staff to finally recognize Colston Lovely, but we have a backup tight end, folks. I'd love to see that. But with that being said, I know the word around the Chicago media, you shouldn't have to apologize for a win. Yeah, that's true, but let's be honest here. The Bears deserve to lose that game, and I'm not going to back off that statement. Yes, as a fan, I celebrated for like 10 minutes, okay. But in reality, this team still has a lot of flaws, and I thought some of those issues would have been resolved by now, but apparently it hasn't. Winning is the greatest deal in the world of sports. We saw that on display yesterday in the Queen City.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Steve Brown with you, recapping Bears Bengals. I'm a little surprised that you're going a little bit more cynical here, coming to my side on this, because I watched something. I kind of kept that game in the background as I was watching other games. But I think, like you said, I think for me that defense, they got Joe Flacco a couple of times, but it's just one of those things where you're just like, okay, you got a couple of interceptions. Okay, but again, Caleb Williams. Okay, he was terrific. Three TDs, no interceptions. He even caught a TD. He even caught a couple of catches. But I think what really kills me in all this is that every time I turned around, they had like a gimmicky play, if you will. Like, why are you? It just and I said this on Twitter. you only did this because you don't have no respect for that defense. That Bengals defense is one of, if not the worst defense in the league. So yeah, of course you're going to do all those gimmicky plays because you're not going to be able to do that against a Philadelphia who you guys face later this month, or or Minnesota that's actually defense actually pretty decent, and San Francisco, even with their injuries, still have a pretty solid defense. So it's just one of those days where you're just like, what are you doing here? But I digress. But yeah, look, Caleb was good. I know people were saying, well, all the Caleb haters. Look, I never hated that kid. I've been a fan of that kid since high school. He was in high school. He was a top recruit. But my thing is that do it consistently and do it against a somewhat competent defense, then we'll talk. Colson Loveland, Kyle Monangai. Look, we talked about it, with our girl Christy Man from KXRB when we did our picks. It was going to be the Kyle Monangai show, and look, 176 yards. That's exactly what happened. Again, do this against a comparable defense, and then we'll talk. You take the win, fine, but you're not going to be able to get away with that. I know people keep saying, "Well, last year's Bears team would have lost." Nah, even I doubt Eberflus would have screwed that up. If it would not have been a touchdown, they would have gotten a Cairo Santos field goal just because the defense for the Bengals is that bad. So I don't want to hear people say, "Well, no, this is the same old Bears." The only thing is that they got lucky. You're going to be facing a Giants team that's, again, they're not great, but they're no pushovers either. So for people that want to say, oh, well, look, just shove and take the win. No, we're going to be the kind of people that are going to be reasonable here. And this Bears team, they're not good enough yet. They're not.
Welcome to LaKeena's TED Talk, Bears TED Talk for week number 9. If I got that, week number 9 in the NFL. You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you. Recapping the Chicago Bears 47-42 win over the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday in the Queen City. Before we get into the key statistics of the game, coming into yesterday's game, Cincinnati ranked 30th, I believe, overall in total defense, 30th against the pass, 32nd against the run. So we told you guys on Friday that this could be a high-scoring game. It turned out to be a little bit more higher scoring than what we thought, but statistically, you got your money's worth yesterday. Third down efficiency, the Bears were 8 of 15, 2-2 on fourth down. Total plays 76, total yards 576, yards per play 7.6, 293 yards passing overall, 283 yards of total offense in the rushing department. But this one thing is just killing me, LaKeena. The penalties, I know the yards didn't rack up, but the flags did, and that's the last thing that bothered me yesterday. 7 penalties for 43 yards and a couple of false starts again. LaKeena, you could tell this team until you blew in the face to clean up the penalties, but the players got to be held accountable at some point, and it should have started a long time ago. This problem we heard throughout training camp, it started out ugly in the start of the year. It reached this ugly head again yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that's really was going to be the key. I think that's going to be what's going to kill the Bears ultimately because, look, the special teams, I don't know what you can say about that the Bears special teams. Also, same thing with the defense, too. That defense has not been, they've made some plays. They got a couple of takeaways, but they haven't been good overall. And the pass rush, that's still an issue for me. I'm a little surprised that the Bengals didn't use Chase Brown more. Probably that would have helped. I know that Flacco and Higgins was getting all that stuff. And if you saw Jamar Chase's comments after the game, I sent it to Sid and Christine. He was not very happy. And can I counter this by saying, well, they gave all that money to you and your buddy T. Higgins. So unfortunately,
Joe Burrow too,
and Burrow as well. So yeah, so they don't have the money for decent defense. And there was a report from Diana Rossetti at the Athletic. She said that she's here for people that the Bengals want a first-round pick for Trey Henderson. Should they trade him before a trade deadline tomorrow? So yeah, one more effing stop. But unfortunately, you guys don't have the talent. So yeah, somebody, and look, heads should be rolling in Cincinnati right now because that they should have won that game yesterday. It's just that simple.
Yeah, a couple more things to wrap up before we break for the bottom of the hour. Like you said, great job by Spiro Ditas on the call on CBS yesterday, friend of the show. If you guys didn't chance to see the game, if you have NFL Plus for your subscription, the game should be there already. It'll be replayed throughout the weekend. I think YouTube, the NFL's official YouTube channel, I assume we'll put it on here on YouTube later on this week, so you get a chance to watch it. Number 2, LaKeena, going back to the Bears, couple other things here. And I know we try not to do the hot take special on the show, but one,
Mhm.
does Kyle Monagai's performance yesterday concludes that he should be the number one running back on his team? And number two, justified it to me that Kyle Santos deserves to be on this team another day. Go.
Uh, do I think he should be? I mean, yeah, he's kind of sort of starting to wear out his welcome. He missed a field goal earlier. He got bailed up by that first one with the offsides penalty by the Bengals. I think. You see, the Bears. We tend to, Bears fans. They tend to, fall in love with the flavor of the week, if you will, when it comes to kicking. So I would say wait a couple more weeks. If not, you could probably, if he still isn't very good, I would say you can say bye to him. But yeah, I think it's just kind of crazy how this all sort of shakes out. But again, we'll see what happens down the line. But yeah, he's starting to wear out his welcome.
And Kyle Monaga, is he the future of the Bears at running back going forward? I know DeAndre Swift is out. I believe Swift has one more year on his contract, which is next year. But as I said, LaKeena, I do not want to throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to DeAndre Swift. Yes, he was performing well for the last couple weeks before he did not play yesterday. But the way Ben Johnson wants to run his offense, look what is going on in Detroit, which he had a big handoff with David Montgomery, former Bear, and Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. You could argue that's the best 1-2 running back tandem in the league. I don't think we have that here in Chicago. Yes, like I said, DeAndre Swift has done well so far, better this year than he did last year, and partially due to a better offensive line, which I do give them some of the Bears' offensive line. I do give them a thumbs up yesterday for their outstanding performance, but I don't think that DeAndre Swift is your long-term answer. If that's the case, GM Ryan Poles, you're on the clock, brother. You got to go find a comparable running back to complement Kyle Monangai.
Yeah, so I would say, wait. Like I said, do this again in a couple more weeks, and you might have found your running back. But I think right now, again, let's be known that again, the Bengals defense is one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. So he probably could have gotten to 200 yesterday, and that wouldn't have been. I don't think anyone would have been shocked.
Yeah, and I was just getting ready to say to wrap up. If you're a Bears fan, you cannot have it both ways. If the Bears would have stunk it up yesterday, if the Bears would have stunk it up yesterday, and it would have lost like 30-16, something like that. Well, this is the worst defense in the league. Why could you score on them? And you would have been correct. But since the Bears won, you say, they racked up this many yards on offense. Yeah, they're supposed to do that against the worst defense in the league statistically, and they did just that. But I was conflicted yesterday because the way we see the reason I feel this way. I usually don't use that F word a lot, but the reason why I feel this way is because we've seen Bears teams in the past, LaKeena, they do well in one area, and then they don't do well in other areas, and then you think they have the game won. They blow it. They gave up 15 points in 49 seconds. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Exactly. So they almost did what last year's Bears team would have done. So, yeah,
I was getting Washington vibes from last year when I saw that.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Flacco can't throw the ball. Even with a bad AC joint, yeah, Flacco couldn't throw the ball that far anyway. Maybe Chase or Higgins would have caught it. Maybe it would have ran it in. Then that would have been it. But yeah, I don't think that wouldn't. That I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I just had to forget it. But it is what it is.
Yeah. On the flip side, we'll continue with our NFL Power Hour as we review the other action from yesterday's contest. We had 4 upsets. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go through all of them, and we'll give you a quick preview of tonight's contest between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. Stick and stay on the Bears 50 Monday edition of Second Series Sports right here on Sports Soul Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe. But some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition, the first one from the month of November. You're locked and loaded in real live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. See it here, LaKeena there. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute again at IG.
We'll still take your Bears comments on their 47-42 victory from the Bengals yesterday, along with recapping yesterday's action from the rest of the National Football League. If you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects in our NFL Power Hour, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Lots of entertaining games. Now, this game here, we'll start in Foxborough, was, well, kind of entertaining, but also, it was kind of back and forth for a little bit. Falcons comeback falls just short to the Patriots, 24-23. Drake May had 2 TD passes, 259 yards. Travion Henderson, I know Sid was lobbying for when we did our picks on Friday, 55 rushing yards for him. Demario Douglas, a TD catch. On the flip side for the Falcons, Michael Penix, back, 3 TD passes. They didn't utilize the running game. I'm talking about Falcons. Bijan Robinson, Drake May did have all 3 of those TD catches. Now, you give the Falcons credit for scoring 9 points in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough there as their comeback falls just short.
Yeah, the New England Patriots only scored 3 points in that second half, but when you're not at your best and you're becoming a team that's supposed to be relevant, you find ways to win you'll find a way to win ball games, and that's what happened with the New England Patriots yesterday. The first half, it was fire for them, as the kids would say, scoring 21 points. But Drake May, as we talked about before in the show, he's improving every week, and give maybe the candidate for head coach of the year, Mike Vrabel, credit. He deserves it. Let's not forget about Josh McDaniels. I don't think the NFL teams would give him a head coaching job again, but he's a hell of an offensive coordinator, and he deserves a whole lot of credit too in the success of Drake May and the rest of this Patriots team.
Yeah, as Vrabel said afterwards, that last drive by the Falcons, if they were able to execute, the defense was able to do what they had to do to stop the Falcons from winning that game, and they probably should have. Talked about the Falcons, but you get those kind of wins. That's 6 in a row for the Patriots as they soldier on here. Now going down to Nashville next, 27-20 the Chargers. Well, this game was a little bit closer than I think a lot of us thought, but the Chargers got the win. Justin Herbert threw for 250 yards and 2 TDs. He also was leading rusher. I know Sid hates whenever the QB is leader in rushing in a game. He did get a rushing touchdown. He was sacked 6 times though, especially with Their all-pro tackle Joe Alt, with a severe ankle sprain. We'll get to that in a second. Cameron Rowan on the fifth side, 145 yards. He was sacked 4 times. Tony Pollard rushed for 56 yards. I mean, it was really the defense that kind of kept the Titans in it, but including that pick by Cody Barton. But the Chargers, again, not pretty, but they did what they had to do to hold on, and now they're 6-3.
Yeah, just like I talked about the Patriots a second ago. The Chargers, they didn't play their best yesterday. Had to going out to the East Coast again. I think it's for the 3rd time this year. I know they lost that to New York Football Giants in Jackson Dart's first start a month ago, but they regained themselves, and Jim Harbaugh, give him credit. The Chargers stayed focused. They weathered the early storm by the Titans. The Titans scored 14 points, including a punt return for a touchdown, and kept the Titans offense at bay to only 6 total points the rest of the way. So the Chargers are finding their identity, becoming a good team, despite their injuries too. So give the Chargers credit. They're very good away from home from SoFi Stadium this year, 3-1. Now 6-3 overall, 3-1 away from home, 6-3 overall. So the Chargers are trying to regain themselves of getting back to be one of those top 5 teams in the AFC.
Yeah, they're definitely starting to find their groove, and they do face this next game. This next team coming up on next Sunday night. The Steelers held off the Colts 27-20. Aaron Rodgers threw for 203 yards and a TD. Jaylen Warren had 2 rushing TDs. Calvin Austin III led them in rushing. On the flip side, though, Daniel Jones, not his best showing so far this season. He threw 3 interceptions and was sacked 5 times. Jonathan Taylor only rushed for 45 yards. Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. each had 115 receiving yards. Again, it was really the defense for the Steelers. They actually showed a little bit of heart there. Joey Porter Jr. in front of his dad, by the way. He was right there. And also TJ Watt each had a sack with those 5 sacks. So, yeah, it was really the defense. And, again, the Colts kind of had their worst showing of the season. Well, outside that Broncos game, the Colts had their worst game within the last few weeks.
I regretted not picking the Steelers on last Friday on this show with you and Christine. I kind of figured this was coming, and then this was exactly what happened. I know the Colts scored in the opening drive, but the Steelers scored 17 unanswered points in the second quarter to kind of put that game away. I know the Colts made a run of it late, but the Steelers, Jaylen Warren finally decided to show up. Now, will the Steelers find a running back at the trade deadline? I doubt it, but Jaylen Warren's performance was more than effective yesterday. But you mentioned the Steelers defense was the story here. The question is, with the 5-3 record for Pittsburgh, can they get on a little bit of a run? Because we're looking at what Baltimore is doing in their division. Cincinnati's down. We know Cleveland's trash. So can the Steelers pick this time to make a run? We shall see.
Remember, we picked Indy as well, so we were wrong about this one. Yeah, and looking at their schedule, talking about the Steelers, Baltimore's got a much, I don't want to say easier, but they got a much easier path, I guess, because remember, like I said, that they play the Chargers on next Sunday night. They also have the Bears that Sunday before Thanksgiving. They play the Bills, and they play the Ravens 2 of the last 4 weeks. So, and also they play the Lions too during that time in December, my birthday. So it's not, so it doesn't get easier for the Steelers. So this big win could go a long way, but again, they've got a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, and both Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf had to step up their games. I think Metcalf had a fumble yesterday, or it was close to being a fumble. So, yeah, that the passing game has to pick it up as well.
Yeah, definitely got to get it going there now. Off to the Bears' next opponent, the Giants. They stayed for a little bit against the 49ers, but the 49ers woke up and realized, we're actually better than the Giants. 34-24, 2 TDs for Mac Jones, a rushing TD for Christian McCaffrey. Brian Robinson Jr. also had a rushing TD. Jackson Dart threw for 2 TDs and a rushing TD as well. Darius Slayton led the Giants in receiving yards and such. Again, not pretty, but again, consider what happened last week for the 49ers. This is a perfect get right game for them. They got to keep pace with the Rams, who they play next Sunday. So, yeah, this is definitely a big win for them.
Yeah, Mac Jones did very well. 235 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, 106 rushing yards and a touchdown. I don't know about you, LaKeena, but a couple things going to the Giants side. One, that crowd was pro 49ers.
Oh
You
yeah.
thought they was playing. They came on the West Coast. Haven't seen that many red and gold T-shirts, jerseys in the stands like that outside of San Francisco in a long ass time. And number two, Jackson Dart. Yes, this is the NFL. You're gonna have to play without your key players for, for some time. You really think that the Giants? We said coming to the season they'll be sort of improved, but without Malik Neighbors and without Cam Scatterable, that Giants offense really looks like trash, and their defense just thrown in the towel, in my opinion.
Yeah, they definitely have given up. It feels like, and Brian Dable. I mean, a lot of folks in Giants world thinking that he should have been gotten this pink slip and link card, but again, I guess they're gonna wait till the end of the season, but we'll see. But yeah, the 49ers again, not pretty, but look, you'll take the win if you're San Francisco, as you got a big matchup against the Rams coming up next weekend.
And you may get Brock Purdy back, which will be even greater news for the 49ers.
Yep. So a double good news all around. Now, the last of the new games, give our girl Christine Mack KXRB credit. She called this one Denver. The last second field goal, but they did, they came back and beat Houston 18-15. Bo Nix threw for 2 TDs. J.K. Dobbins 61 rushing yards. On the flip side, C.J. Stroud left early in the first quarter with a concussion. Mm-hmm. Davis Mills, again, he held down the fort pretty well, only 137 yards. Nick Chubb rushed for 34 rushing yards, I should say. Again, not the prettiest game. This is one of those old, like back in the day NFC 80s football with a lot of field goals. But again, if you're Denver, you'll take the win out there in Houston. Houston, just what you thought after upsetting San Francisco, you thought that, well, maybe they're starting to, maybe find their groove again.
Nope,
they haven't.
The Denver Broncos did not start off the game hot. I know they scored 11 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, including the game-winning field goal to cap off the comeback. Bo Nix did not have a good day, but he did have a good last drive to engineer that game-winning field goal drive. J.K. Dobbins, 15 carries for 61 yards, which was very impressive. But as you mentioned, LaKeena, I saw that play live when C.J. Stroud exited the game with a concussion. He bounced his head off the turf. People think that, they're running slow. No, they're running faster than a car down a side street. So those players are going at full speed. To bounce your head off the turf like you couldn't pay me $1 trillion to experience that. So hopefully CJ Stroud is okay. We'll see what happens throughout the week before their next game. But Denver, as we talked about earlier in the year, they had their problems on the road. They're starting to get it together now. They're 7-2 overall, 3-2 away from Mile High Stadium. The new Mile High Stadiums, I'll call it.
Exactly. And this is actually the last of the new games. And I guess they actually made a quick change because most folks in Chicago actually ended up getting this game. Minnesota upset, the first upset, if you want to call it that. Upsetting the Lions 27-24. 2 TD passes for J.J. McCarthy. He got the LFG player of the game from Tom Brady. Despite being sacked 5 times, Aaron Jones, I know he re-aggravated that shoulder injury, so he had to leave the game, but he still had 78 rushing yards. Justin Jefferson, I know he got banged up a little bit too. He did have a TD catch. On the flip side, Jared Goff, 2 TDs. The running game, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, then we're back to Sonic and Knuckles, only rushed for 65 yards, I should say. So give the defense for Minnesota credit. Goff got sacked 5 times. This was your old-fashioned, the old NFC Central game from back in the day. A lot of sacks, a lot of hard hitting. And look, Minnesota got a big win on the road to get back to 500.
Only thing was missing was Warren Moon, Chris Carter, Barry Sanders, Eric Kramer.
Yep.
Scott Mitchell, if you want to throw him in there.
Oh, yeah. Those games. Oh,
Rodney Pete.
Dante Culpepper. You want to go a little further. That's a little bit more current, this
right.
century, but
But I did get a chance to watch this game via the replay, and the Vikings took control of that game after responding to the Lions scoring on their opening drive. That was a hell of a catch by Justin Jefferson, one-handed in the right corner of the end zone there, as the Vikings outscored the Vikings 14-7 in that first quarter. But give credit to Brian Flores and the Vikings defense. I didn't think they were going to get home on Jared Goff. We all know that Flores likes to blitz a lot. And when he dialed up those blitzes, they got home to Jared Goff the majority of the time. So, and the Vikings on the flip side offensively ran the ball effectively with Aaron Jones Sr. 9 carries for 78 yards, and J.J. McCarthy played complimentary football. I don't believe he had a turnover, so he had 3 total touchdowns, including 2 passing. So the Vikings earned this one on the road. The Lions got not back on their senses, even though they lost by 3. They're back to 5-3, tied for second place with the Chicago Bears. Who would have thunk it? I know they own the tiebreaker currently over Chicago because they beat them early in the year. But the Lions, Dan Campbell said we had to tighten a couple of screws a little bit before the game, and then we can get off and running. We'll have to wait another week because you got smacked in the mouth by the Vikings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. Now, so going up to Lambeau, again, this actually is the last of the noon games.
You sure?
Well, no, there were a lot of noon games yesterday. The Packers got upset number 2 by the Panthers. Ryan Fitzgerald's 38-yard field goal, 16-13. Bryce Young, 102 yards. But it was a Rico Dowdle show once again, 130 yards and 2 rushing TDs for Dowdle once again. Jordan Love, he had an interception for 273 yards. Josh Jacobs rushed for 87 yards and a TD. But the big story, Tucker Kraft tore his ACL. Mm-hmm. He's out for the year, and yeah, that's a big hole in that Packers offense now. But look at the Panthers; they're 5-4. I mean, they still got to contend with Tampa, but look, I think they could be right there for a wild card spot. And again, not pretty, but look, I think the Panthers, they're definitely one of the surprises this year.
Yeah, Bryce Young has bounced back sort of in the last couple of weeks. You mentioned Rico Dowdle being the focal point in that Panthers offense, but it was the Panthers defense that really kept Green Bay out of the end zone until that fourth quarter. We talked about Jordan Love, LaKeena, I believe it was last year, making that stride from Thanksgiving on as being one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. The way he played this year, well, not last year, 2 years ago. Last year he was had various injuries, and the Packers still found their way in the playoffs. This year, he does not look good. I know Romeo Doubs had 91 receiving yards yesterday off of 7 catches, but outside of that, you mentioned losing Tucker Kraft for the year. I don't know where the Packers are going to find their main pass catcher. I know they got Matthew Golden. I know Christian Watson, whenever he's healthy, he may have a surprise game or two. But this Packers offense, it wasn't for Josh Jacobs, their running back. The Packers offense will be in deep doo-doo right now. So they're looking at their 5-2-1. But outside of Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love's going to step up his game like he did a couple of years ago. And I don't know if we're going to see, especially now losing Tucker Kraft for the year.
Well, it does get easier for the Packers as they'll face the Eagles. So we'll talk about that game on Friday. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Steve Brown with you. And yes, now we can go to the late games. I promise. I actually watched a little bit of this game because, of course, this game aired here in Chicago on CBS. The Jaguars needed overtime. But they held off the Raiders 30-29 after the Raiders went for 2. But Geno Smith threw it to, I don't know who he was trying to throw it to over there, but Trevor Lawrence threw for 220 yards in the TD. Travis Etienne Jr. had 84 rushing yards. Parker Washington had 90 yards leading the receiving side. Geno Smith had 4 TDs in a losing effort there, but Ashton Genty only 42 rushing yards. Brock Bowers had 3 of those TD passes for the Raiders. So again, the Jaguars, they will usually lose these kind of games, but again, they did the defense that they needed, and they were right there, and they ended up getting a big win.
Geno Smith made me look like a fool when I picked you guys last Friday. Damn. I think he had a lane. LaKeena, I think it was on the left side. If you go back on the replay, he had a chance to run in, and the Raiders would have won the game.
Yes.
But like you said, who the hell was he throwing to? I don't know. And that would be all. But you mentioned the Jaguars offense. They didn't wake up until the fourth quarter, scoring 17 points. Shout out to Cam Little, the Jaguars kicker, right before the first half. Remember, he hit a 70-yard field goal in the preseason. That would have been an NFL record. He hit a 68-yard field goal at the end of the first half, which is officially an NFL record. Hopefully, the Pro Football Hall of Fame received that ball to put it in his shrine in Canton. But with that being said, like you said, LaKeena, Trevor Lawrence and the rest of the crew stepped up in that fourth quarter to force that game into overtime. LaKeena, on the flip side for the Raiders, if it wasn't for Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, and I think Ashton Genty is going to be a hell of a player in this league. If it wasn't for those three players, the Raiders would be irrelevant right now. They're looking at just 2-6. I know they're not very good, but still, if it wasn't for those three players I just mentioned, they'd definitely be in the toilet right now in the NFL, along with the Jets.
Yeah, they've been really, really bad. We saw that. Well, they almost beat the Bears, so go figure if that.
Right.
So, what does that say about the Bears? But again, I digress. All right, the Rams, 34-10. We could keep it short and sweet with this one. Mm-hmm. Matt Stafford, 4 TDs, and I think he's getting closer to some of the passing records. Kyron Williams had a rushing TD, 114 yards. Speaking of cool, I know he got a little bit banged up. He got a TD catch, and Devontae Adams got 2 of those TD catches. On the flip side, Tyler Slow, he did, his first start, he did get a TD catch, so he did a TD pass, so good for him. But he did throw an interception, and the Saints they're just the Saints.
Yeah, I know we talk about Detroit. I know we talk about Philadelphia, but the Rams, in my opinion, they're the best team in the NFC. I know we talk about Seattle too. We'll get to them in just a second, but the Rams were a block field goal away from beating Philadelphia early in the year. The Rams are a complete team in my opinion. As long as Matthew Stafford stays upright, the Rams always have a chance, and they have a young and underrated defense. We talked about it last year around this time as they're making their march toward the playoffs. It looks like they're going to do the same thing again if they stay healthy. So do not count the Rams out just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And like I said, they got a couple big games coming up, so we'll see what the Rams are made of. Now, the game of the week, of course, everybody coast to coast got this game on CBS, and of course, it went down to the wire. The Bills did hold off the Chiefs 28-21. Josh Allen, a TD pass, 273 yards, 114 rushing yards for Mr. James Cook. On the flip side, Pat Mahomes, 250. No TDs, but you did get an interception there. Kareem Hunt. The rushing game wasn't really a factor there. Rashee Rice had 80 receiving yards on the defensive side. It was, like I said, the Bills defense, they were a little short-handed. Maxwell Harrison, I should say, he had that big interception as they were trying to come back. Now, they did have another shot at it, but some of his passes, Mahomes' passes were kind of short. So this is like the third time in the last 4 meetings in the regular season anyway that the Bills got the Chiefs.
Yeah, as we said on the show last Friday, Buffalo, they beat Kansas City during the regular season, and then it's a different story come playoff time. Yesterday's results didn't surprise me at all. As we said for the last couple of weeks, let James cook Sean McDermott, so he's finally getting back to what made Buffalo successful offensively. And I like, too, that Josh Allen decides to use his tight end, Dalton Kincaid, 6 catches, 101 yards in that first quarter touchdown. So Buffalo's team had a good performance all around. So great win for them. It gives them the season series, obviously, over the Chiefs. Is they only play once. Obviously, even if they're the same conference, they only play once this year. So if the Chiefs and the Bills meet once again in the playoffs, will it be the same story or will it be a different outcome? Because remember, when the Bills hosted the Chiefs in the playoffs 2 years ago, this was the time the Chiefs were not looking their best. And Buffalo had every opportunity to win at home. They came up empty-handed. Will it be the same story if they meet again in 2 months? We shall see.
Maybe I just see here now. The Sunday nighter, well, I'll be honest, after the second quarter, halfway through, I turned this game off. 38-14 was all Seahawks, 4 TDs for Sam Darnold, 129 yards, receiving yards for Jackson Smith and Nigba. Jaden Daniels, 153 yards, and an interception. A TD, he had a rushing TD and another TD for Chris Rodriguez Jr. Daniels said 4 times, and the main story here is that he unfortunately dislocated his elbow.
Yeah.
And nothing has been official yet, so there hasn't been any updates. But it looks like he is going to be out for a while. I will save my thoughts for studs and duds. Sid, you got anything to say about this game?
I did not watch not a minute of this game. I did see some highlights here on the YouTube, and shout out to those throwback uniforms that remind me of watching a game in the late 80s, early 90s, like 93,
Love
94.
those blue uniforms.
That's the only thing I liked about that game. But Sam Darnold, I think it's DJ Khaled. All I do is win, win, win. Sam Darnold does it again. Four touchdown passes, over 330 yards passing. Seattle, we're not talking about them either as far as being a top team in the NFC. They're 6-2 right now, 4-0 away from home. They may be a sneaky dangerous come playoff time too. So let's be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and look, this is not the Legion of Boom defense, but you still got guys like Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence. They got young guys like Devon Witherspoon from Illinois. Kind of like those guys are on the rise. Kobe Bryant, Kobe with a C. So, and also Tyrese Knight, who led them in tackles with 10 total tackles, 4 solo ones yesterday. So, yeah, look, Mike Macdonald, he actually, and I saw this, he actually is just the third coach to win 11 of his first 12 games. And he actually joins a pretty good list that includes George Seifert, who did it back in the 90s. And also Sean McVay, who did his first couple of seasons with the Rams. So pretty good company he joins with that one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's get to our studs and duds. I will start off first. Kyle Monangai for the Chicago Bears, 26 carries, 176 yards, all career highs for the rookie running back out of Maryland as the Bears barely hang on to beat the Bengals 47-42. My second stud will go to Rico Dotto, the running back of the Carolina Panthers, 25 carries, 130 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns as the Panthers upset the Pack in Lambeau Field 16-13. And my third stud will go to Matthew Stafford, 24-32, 281 yards passing and 4 touchdown passes as the Rams dominate the Saints at SoFi 34-10.
Mine are Carolina, who pulled off the upset. Not easy winning out there in Lambeau Field, especially in November, but they will do just that. So they're 5-4, and look, we'll see if they can make a go at in the NFC South. Minnesota pulling off the upset in Detroit. JJ McCarthy, his best showing, I guess you could say, overcoming 5 sacks. Look, I think he did just enough to win that game for the Vikings, and they did just that. And my other stud, I'll go with Baltimore. They're starting to find their groove a little bit. Look, like I said, the schedule set up. It looks like they could perhaps maybe make a move in the AFC North. Like it looks like it might only end up being one team coming from that division. So don't be surprised if it does end up being the Ravens.
And don't forget the Ravens won this past Thursday 28-6 over the Miami Dolphins. All right, my 3 duds are as follows. First, the Detroit Lions off rushing attack. It was non-existent yesterday. One of the main reasons why they got upset at home against the Vikings. My second dud, the Giants defense. I know they lost by 10 at the end, but they played like crap throughout the game. And love those Giant throwback uniforms and the repainting of the end zone. It was a quote-unquote legacy game celebrating that 1990 team. But they played anything like that opposite that 1990 team. It was ridiculous. And my third dud will be Geno Smith. Who are you throwing to in that 2-point conversion and overtime? Oh, my goodness.
My dud, that Bengals defense, like I said, probably not historically the worst, but one of the worst in the league. One effing stop. Y'all couldn't have done that for 20 seconds. To 20 seconds off, that's all you wanted. But again, the Bears had no business winning that game. My other dud, I will say, well, I hope that's not the GM on the phone over there right now. Look, the Raiders, I get why you wanted to go for 2. You didn't want to tie, but sometimes you just got to play the odds and such. So, yeah, those overtime rules, hey, look, you wanted both teams to touch the ball. So, again, you get those craziness, but I'm just saying. And my last one goes to Dan Quinn. Why was Jaden Daniels out there when game was well in hand for Seattle? Really? I like what Devin Harris, who played for the Patriots, what a couple of times there said on CBS Sports headquarters. I saw that earlier this morning. It was malpractice. It really was. And I'm sure Dan Quinn got a talking to from GM Adam Peters and the Commanders ownership group led by, I'm sure, Magic Johnson was part of the ownership group. I'm sure that ruined a little bit of his mood. So, yeah, Dan Quinn, really? Really? Seriously? But I digress.
All right, and then tonight's weeknight action will conclude with the Monday Night Football contest between the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Arizona Cardinals. That's at 7:15 tonight on ABC and ESPN. Dallas is favored by 3.5. Kyler Murray will not play for the Cardinals tonight. Jacoby Brissett will get the start. Jacoby Brissett has looked good in his 2 games previously started, but the Cardinals 2-5. LaKeena, we talked about the Cowboys defense. It still needs some work. We'll see what Matt Eberflus can cook up tonight. But Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, who's now back. Those guys are ready to go offensively. I expect the Cowboys to put some big points tonight.
Although I will say, you can probably say that the Cardinals should have a couple more wins than they do. So we'll see what happens tonight. This could be another high-scoring affair because I think that Dallas defense is not very good. So we'll see if Jacoby Brissett can take advantage of that. So, but again, it'll be on ABC. It'll be simulcast on ESPN. Well, those of you who have YouTube TV will have to find other avenues to stream it. But again, maybe this will be the thing that finally breaks the impasse. Who knows? But it should be an entertaining game. I'm just saying.
Yep. Hour number one's doors are locked shut. Hour number two's doors will open up following these messages as you listen to a Bears Birthday Monday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We got a Game 7 to review from the World Series. Is it one of the best World Series in recent memory? We'll discuss the Bulls' unbeaten streak to the start of the year, which came to a close at MSG last night. We'll review the best and worst from the weekend in college football in Week 10. And time permitting, we'll have Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. You stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition. The first one for the month of November. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
We'll recap the 2025 World Series, and we'll dive into some Bulls and NBA talk for this block to kick off our number 2. You have any questions or comments for us on those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the opening screen for you.
What a thrilling World Series those last couple of games, Friday and Saturday. Probably one of the better ones that we've seen in recent memory. The first one on Friday on Halloween night, and it was just an amazing showing of pitching, by both the defense as well. Yamamoto pitched a gem. They were able to, got out of a couple of jams there a couple of times. Will Smith, who we'll talk about that in a second, he opened the scoring there in that Friday's game. But it was Mookie Betts had a couple that 2 RBI that scored Ohtani and Smith in that same inning, and the pitching we held them off there. 3-1 in Game 6. Now Game 7, it was 11 overtime thriller, 5-4. It was actually Miguel Rojas who hit the go ahead home run in the ninth. There was only one
they were
out.
trailing.
They were trailing. Of course, there was only I think they were down. And also Muncy got cut it to 4-3. Then Rojas tied it in the ninth inning, forcing extras, and Will Smith hit what ended up being the game-winning home run at the top of the 11th inning. And also Yamamoto, another gem, coming back and help finishing up that one. Only stricken out one and only had one hit during those 2 innings that he pitched. Got out of a jam there as well. He ended up getting MVP honors, as he should, because that I'll share a stat in a second here. But yeah, it's the 9th World Series for the Dodgers organization. It's also the second straight time that the road team won Game 7. Of course, the Cubs were the last one to do it back in 2016. So that was a thrilling World Series. Well, we'll talk about the Rays in a second, but a really entertaining World Series overall.
Congratulations to the Dodgers for making it back-to-back titles, and the third title in, I believe, in the last 5 years. Of course, they won it in 2020, of course, last year and this year. And shout out to MLB Network for simulcasting Spectrum Sportsnet's LA's coverage of the World Series parade for the Dodgers going through downtown LA through Figueroa Avenue, various neighborhoods in Los Angeles, which I got my TV on right now. But reviewing the last 2 games of the World Series, you mentioned Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He had a great performance last Friday in Game 6. 6 strikeouts to 1 walk in 6 innings pitched. Roki Sasaki and Tyler Glasnow, both starters in the regular season. They did a remarkable job closing that game. The Toronto Blue Jays, it was the same story in Game 6, just like it was in Game 7. Runners in scoring position was their statistics were not good. Of course, reviewing Game 7, Toronto jumped out early to that 3-0 lead with that home run, and the Dodgers they slowly started chipping away. After Max Scherzer went out the game, I thought it was an inning too soon, in my opinion, but I got why Toronto's manager decided to pull him. But the Blue Jays still had their chances. 1 out in the 9th, Hoffman on the mound. And, of course, you mentioned Miguel Rojas hit that game-tying home run. And you could tell I had the chance to watch the Toronto Blue Jays broadcast with Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez. You could tell that the air went out of them just as much as the air went out of those Blue Jays fans. They were still the fans were still giving them hope as they went into extra innings. But you could tell the winds sailed out of that stadium. But here's the thing, LaKeena, about this Dodgers team. We said at the start of the year, this wasn't a team that's going to win 120 games. You knew that this was not an old team, but this was a veteran-made team. And they suffered through some injuries this year. What we didn't expect was they went through a bunch of lulls offensively throughout the year. Remember, Mookie Betts was injured to start the year with those 2 games in Japan against the Cubs. Freddie Freeman had some other stuff going on from last year. He had injuries too, but he started to come on. Shohei Ohtani, he had to adjust in the middle of the season, getting back on the mound, not just concentrate hitting. And so he had to take some time to get used to that. Because remember, this is his first year pitching in a Dodgers uniform. He didn't do it last year because he had John the previous season before last in 2023. And so all these adjustments that the Dodgers had to go throughout the year. And yes, they won the NL West, but it wasn't in dominating fashion. But they did what they had to do. Now they played one more extra round than they did last year. They had to play in the wild card round. Got rid of Cincinnati quickly, and then you saw what this team was made of as the playoffs went along. So give Toronto credit. They did what they had to do. We saw that team improve throughout the year too, LaKeena, in that surprisingly competitive AL East. We thought it was going to be Baltimore and the Yankees and maybe Tampa, but it was flipped. It was Toronto, the Yankees, and Boston, which came out of nowhere, despite Alex Bregman not playing the majority of the year, and despite trading Rafael Devers as well. But give Toronto credit; they got stronger as the year went on. They made a couple of big trades we talked about at the time at the trade deadline. Their bullpen was solid until games 6 and 7, and like we said, I think it was a combination of both. You got to give the Dodgers credit for buying back, and then the Blue Jays had 2 chances to get one game, and they blew them both at home.
Yeah, and check out some of these stats here. Rojas is the first player, in the MLB history to get a game title home run in the 9th inning or later in a Game 7. Will Smith, the first to have ever the home run in extra innings of a World Series Game 7. And speaking of Yoshinori Yamamoto, he's the first person to win 3 games on the road in a single World Series. Of course, he's also became the first to win games 6 and 7 on the road in the World Series. Of course, deservedly wins MVP honors. Of course, he joins Shohei, who won it last year. The Dodgers are also the first team to trail in the 9th inning of a World Series Game 7 on the road and come back to win. And also, if you go back, Clayton Kershaw, you're happy for him. He gets to go out a champion in the World Series. He got out of a bases loaded jam in that 3rd game. Also, you're happy for Mookie Betts. This is his 4th. Freddie Freeman, this is his 3rd. Will Smith, here's the irony here. This is the 6th time, 6th straight year that a Will Smith has won a World Series.
How about a quiet man?
Well, the other Will Smith, he's a relief pitcher, and these are totally different Will Smiths. But even still, I mean, that was actually still a pretty funny little stat there. But yeah, I think he just said, I think if you're a Dodgers fan, this kind of is the most satisfying because they didn't, they won the division, but they didn't dominate it. They had to play an extra round. They had to go on the road to win. So yeah, I think if you're the Dodgers, if you're the Dodgers fans, this is probably the most gratifying, the most satisfying because, of course, in 21 there were, there were little to no fans. So, it is what it is with that one. But I think the Dodgers. Hopefully now people leave Dave Roberts alone. His 3rd World Series. Y'all better leave that man alone now. He actually made a switch from to Rojas and it ended up paying dividends. So there you go.
Yeah. And also, too, let's not forget the Dodgers were dealing with injuries to their pitching staff the last couple of years. We talked about it last year, and they dealt with it again this year. So many people want to copy their style, but here's the thing. Unlike other organizations, both Chicago teams in particular, my White Sox may have paid attention to this. I don't know, they're starting things slowly with Chris Getz up there, but he knows who his owner is. But, you got to replenish your minor league system. Yeah. Yes, the Dodgers have more money to spend than the Yankees and the Mets combined because they get them the TV money from their own network. And, of course, you have the money coming in from Japan, the Japanese companies, because the signing of Ohtani before it started last year. So the Dodgers have all the resources. But Andrew Freeman, who worked at Tampa Bay through all those years, he has more to play with. And I was like, hey, I could do more than what I did in Tampa. Look what's happening. You brought 3 World Series to Southern California. So congratulations to the Dodgers, Dave Roberts, once again, and the rest of that organization. Now, can they win 3 in a row? We haven't seen that since the late 90s and into the 2000 New York Yankees. I believe the Dodgers are the first National League team to win back-to-back since the 1974-75 Cincinnati Reds.
Yep. And also shout out to Magic Johnson. This is now his 16th championship across 3 sports as a player and an owner. Of course, his 10 with the Lakers as a player and an owner. Of course, national championship from college at Michigan State. He has a WNBA championship as a Sparks part owner, and also MLS Cup from a couple years ago from the Los Angeles Galaxy, of course, soccer team. This, of course, is his 3rd with the Dodgers. So he's having the Jane Dale's injury. I'm sure he's gonna give Diane Point I'm talking to later, but shout out to him. Of course, he's still killing it, even though he hasn't played in years.
Yes. And like I said, congratulations again to the Los Angeles Dodgers for winning back-to-back World Championships. Don't forget now, since we're in the all-season, I know we have some more baseball news. We'll get to it on the other side of this break in our last half hour. But the next year will start on Wednesday, March 25th, as the San Francisco Giants will host the New York Yankees. Of course, the traditional opening day will be on Thursday, March 26th. Of course, the Cubs will have their home opener on that day against the Washington Nationals. The Sox will open on the road on March 26th at Milwaukee. Of course, that following Thursday, April 2nd, the White Sox will have their whole opener against the American League defending champion Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and as far as the Blues are concerned, you gotta wonder how they're feeling. I know if you saw Boba Shoe had that big home run that you thought that was going to be enough for the Blue Jays to win that Game 7. It wasn't. On Saturday, you saw how devastated Vlad Jr. was. So unfortunately, I think their pitching kind of killed them in the end. So you're gonna have to beef that up a little bit too if you're the Blue Jays. So it was just the little things, and so again. After next season, who knows how the labor cell is gonna come out. But I think if you're the Blue Jays, you gotta get you some pitching.
Yeah, like I said, one more strong starter in another bullpen guy will help Toronto. You don't have to change too much within the outfield or the infield, so I think they're set there. So just get a couple of strong arms to in the back end of the rotation, and one more in the bullpen, and they should be more than a competitive. They should. Let's not forget. Even though Vlad Jr. is there for the long haul with that contract extension, you didn't get the best of him this year. Even though he was an all-star, I believe he only had 23 home runs and 84 runs batted in, RBI during the regular season. You can get his best out of him. You saw him at his best once he got to the postseason in the World Series in particular, but you didn't get the best regular season out of him. So he's going to be back next year, healthy, ready to go. So Toronto's a team to be reckoned with. As long as they don't come in big-headed, I think they'll be more in fight. They'll definitely be one of the favorites. Now, will they be the favorite coming in the American League? We'll see about that, what other teams do in this offseason, but it'll be between them and the Yankees again for the AL East next year.
Yeah, and for all those folks they're myth about, the Dodgers are buying championships. You saw how this team played. It wasn't like they dominated like they did last year. So spend the money. I'm talking to you, Jerry Reinsdorf and Tom Ricketts, and Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Cleveland. I know and Minnesota. I know they're going to be changing ownership soon out there in Minnesota. But yeah, just got to spend money. And salary cap, okay. Doesn't mean folks are going to be spending. So I'll say that for another time. But yeah, just want to get that out there.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you, hanging out on the Bears Victory Monday edition of the program. Since we have some minutes left, we may have to carry this over, but let's get into the Chicago Bulls. They're now 5-1. They split their weekend series against the New York Knickerbockers. They won the NBA Cup game, the tournament game on Friday at the United Center. Let's get into we'll get into last night's game first. The Knicks beat the Bulls by the score of 128-116. Jalen Brunson led the Knicks with 31 points. The Knicks shot 47% from three-point range. The Bulls 42%. Of course, free throws. The Knicks were 22 of 22 from the free throw line. I thought this was another statistic, key statistic from the game. The Knicks made all 22 of their free throws. The Bulls 9 of 11. Not good. And of course, offensive rebounds, the Knicks had a +2 advantage, 14-12.
Yeah, and remember too, Ayo Dosunmu was out because of a quad bruise. So unfortunately, I think that played a big part because he was one that he kind of tamed Jalen Brunson when he was out there. So I think he was able. That's why he was able to get that 31 points for Brunson. Also, Cat had 20. OG Anunoby had 21. And on the flip side for the Bulls, it wasn't like all 5 Bulls stars were a double figure. So it wasn't like everybody had a bad showing. They, like you said, they shot 42% from the three. So that wasn't really a problem. Now, points in the paint, 54-42. The Bulls had the advantage here, but it was fast break points that kind of got them 24-19. So, look, we didn't think they were going to go 82-0, but again, you knew they were going to, they're going to lose one of these Knicks games, and unfortunately, they're being the one on the road. But again, look, a nice start for the Bulls. Hopefully, they can bounce back. Like I said, I'm not too concerned. They play the Sixers tomorrow, so that should be a fun one there. That should be a very entertaining game there. But yeah, it is what it is. Look, I know where I'm getting with the Bulls. Look, 5-1. Look, let's just start a new streak for the Bulls.
Yeah, just to put a capper from last night's game, like you said, Io DeSumo being out, which was very key. They missed his 3-point shot and they missed his hustle. And that wasn't the case last night. The Bulls couldn't guard the 3-point line. The Knicks just had one of those games. They were hot from downtown. And they took full advantage of it. And the Bulls, as we said before, they had to take care of their basketball. They did not last night, committing 14 turnovers.
Yeah, and that was really another big one there as well. Now going to last night's games real quick. The Lakers, Luka's back, 29 points for him as they beat the Heat. Not literally, but they were 130 to 120. The Heat, and the Heat lose to the Lakers. 29 for Luka, 26, but it was Jake LaRavia who had 25 off the bench for the Lakers.
Tell about finding the second start since Luka came back. I know he came back last Friday against the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA Cup game, inaugural NBA Cup game. But you got the Lakers had to have other guys step up until LeBron comes back. Austin Reeves has been doing the job ever since Luka returned. You've seen the Lakers fit into their natural roles, but we'll see if they'll have to make adjustment again whenever LeBron James makes his season debut.
All right, a little bit of an upset here in Phoenix. You got the Suns being the Spurs, giving them their first loss of the the first loss of the season. Devin Booker had 28 points there. Toronto beat Memphis without John Morant. We'll get to the in a second.
Knucklehead.
That's one way to put it. The Cavs beat the Cavs beat the Hawks. The Hornets beat Utah. Philadelphia, of course, the Bulls' next opponent. They had no trouble with Brooklyn, and OKC, they stay undefeated by beating New Orleans. They're now with the Bulls losing, they're now the only undefeated team left in the NBA. SGA had 30 points. I know there was some. I know he had his house got broken into over the weekend, last weekend. Just a bunch of knuckleheads. Speaking of knuckleheads, whoever, but that's a whole different conversation there. But everyone's safe, and I think that's the important thing. And SGA, it didn't distract him too much. He had 30 points yesterday.
And your word is from last Saturday quickly. Sacramento over Milwaukee, Minnesota over Charlotte. The Pacers upset the Warriors. The Magic get back on trade. They dominated the Wizards. The Rockets beat the Celtics at Bingtown. And of course, in the NBA Mexico City game, the Pistons beat the Mavericks by 12.
Yeah, Jalen Duren had 33 points, which has a career high for him. Detroit looking good so far. So, you got to love that if you're the Pistons.
Yeah, but now from last Friday, quickly, your winners in the inaugural NBA Cup game for 2025, Atlanta. I did watch this game on Amazon Prime. Celtics survived beating Philadelphia by 109 to 108. Your other winners from Friday in the first Cup game of the year. Toronto, of course, the Bulls, the Lakers, the Suns, Portland beat Denver by 2, and the Clippers beat the Pelicans by 2. There's your winners from the NBA Cup game the first NBA Cup game last Friday. We'll have these games on every Friday in the month of November.
Yeah, shout out to Portland too. Thiago Splitter's guy. I think they only lost once since he temporarily took over as head coach. So they're playing well so far for them. We'll see if they can keep it up. Now, speaking of keeping it up, let's keep up with this week's games real quick. Minnesota and Brooklyn, that'll be tonight on Peacock. Milwaukee and Indiana, that should be a fun one there between two longtime Central Division rivals. Utah and Boston, Washington and the Knicks, Dallas and Houston, that should be a fun one. I'm surprised that's not on TV somewhere. Detroit and Memphis, Sacramento and Denver, your NBA TV game. It'll be now it's an intriguing matchup. You got the Blazers. We'll see if they can keep up what they've been doing against the Lakers, and Miami continue their West Coast trip at the Clippers.
Your schedule for tomorrow, Tuesday, in Milwaukee will visit Toronto. Most of the country will get this game as part of the NBA Coast to Coast schedule. The Orlando Magic will visit the Atlanta Hawks at 7 o'clock on NBC, your local NBC affiliate, and on Peacock. As you mentioned earlier, the 76ers will visit the Bulls. So Joel Embiid is on minutes restriction. We'll see how Billy Donovan defends him tomorrow. And VJ Vincent, their rookie, he's going to have something for the Bulls tomorrow. We'll see if Io DeSumo returns. Your other games for Tuesday, Charlotte at New Orleans, Phoenix at Golden State, and, of course, the late game on NBC. And pick out, for those of you on the West Coast, your local NBC affiliate, Oklahoma City at Los Angeles to take on the Clippers.
gonna be watching that one. That should be a fun one.
Me too.
Right. Wednesday, you got Philadelphia and Cleveland, Utah and Detroit as they start their East Coast trip. Brooklyn and Indiana, Washington and Boston. Your first game of the ESPN doubleheader. Even without Anthony Edwards, it should be a good one. Minnesota and the Knicks, of course. Julius Randle, of course, making his return to MSG, and Houston and Memphis.
And Houston and Memphis. Okay, your rest of your Wednesday schedule looks like this: New Orleans at Dallas, Miami at Denver, the rematch of the 2023 NBA Finals, and then the second night cap of the ESPN doubleheader, the Spurs at the Lakers, OKC at Portland, and the Warriors at the Kings. The Inside the NBA crew will return next week, so they'll get this week off.
And, of course, the lone game for Thursday, that will be on NBA TV. You've got the Clippers and the Suns. That should be a fun one. That's your schedule for this week in the NBA.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the Bears Victory Monday. When we return, we'll review last Saturday's Week 10 action from the world of college football. The final line I get back on track. Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes, so you cannot wait for this season to end. And we have some pretenders and contenders for the college football playoff, and a whole lot more in time permitting Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more you stick and stay right here on Second City Sports, Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports with the hashtag Bears Victory Monday edition. You're locked and loaded in real life and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Real recap, the best and worst from Week 10 in college football and a whole lot more, and plus Old School TV Monday and our sports potpourri segment on our last break of the show for today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, yes, even you can comment on yesterday's Bears 47-42 victory over Cincinnati and Queen City. We'll take those comments. You could definitely hit us up. To do that, you could definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
A lot of stuff happened in Week 10 as we're going into the last month and a little over a month of the season. Memphis, of course, these are Friday's games. Memphis, no trouble with Rice. North Carolina took care of Syracuse, only for their third win of the season. Louisiana Tech took care of Sam Houston State. Now going to Saturday's matchups, as we thought, Julius Say had 316 yards and 3 TDs. 4 TDs, I should say, as Ohio State. No trouble with Penn State. Bo Jackson, no, not that Bo Jackson. He had 105 rushing yards. A different Bo Jackson. He's only a sophomore out there.
Do you know?
Columbus.
No, do you know?
Indiana, no trouble with Maryland. Georgia got a little bit about from Florida, but they hold them off. Same thing with Ole Miss. Lenore's Sellers had 180 yards and a couple of TDs. They held off South Carolina. But one of the big upsets, NC State, the Wolfpack, 5-4 as they knock Georgia Tech out the rest of the beat. CJ Bailey had 2 TDs passes, and Jaden Scott was a real story here, 196 yards, rushing yards, and a TD for Bailey. Also had a rushing touchdown as well as the Wolfpack knocked them out of the ranks of the unbeaten.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech Bulldogs. I did not see this one coming. I thought that NC State maybe would have given them a game, but Georgia Tech has the better talent they'll go through. But their run defense got punched in their mouth. As you mentioned, Mr. Jaden Scott had a great game, almost 200 yards rushing in a touchdown, despite Mr. King, down with the King, Haynes King, on the flip side for Georgia, having 408 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Passes. Georgia Tech got their wake-up call, and I thought this other team would take advantage of their loss. We'll get to it in just a second, but Georgia Tech, I think they're still in the ACC Conference Championship game, the college football playoff. They may still be in play, but they cannot afford any more hiccups. This is a big loss for the Yellow Jackets here, so we'll see how they finish out the regular season.
Yeah, so got a couple of tough games left. We'll get to that in a second here. Texas held off. Vandy did score 21 points, but they were kind of more or less garbage points, if you will. Arch Manning, he seems to be doing okay after that concussion, 320 yards and 3 TDs. Ryan Wingo had one of those TD catches. On the flip side, Diego Pavia, 3 TDs for the Commodores. But yeah, you thought that maybe the Commodores would take the next step, but Texas said not so fast.
Yeah, like I said, Texas did enough to win that game. I thought the Commodores on the night shift, shout out the Commodores minus Lionel Richie for those you scoring at home. But I thought Vanderbilt would give Texas a better battle. I know they scored 21 unanswered points in that fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough. Texas, are they all the way back? Me personally, I don't think so. They need to finish out the season strong to even have a shot at the college football playoff. Will they get into the SEC title game? I doubt it, but we'll see how strong they finish it. Like I said, Arch Manning wasn't great, but it was good enough for them to win. Like I said, they had that big lead early, which definitely benefited them. So I want to see how Texas finish out the season, but we even think about them sneaking into the college football play or the SEC championship game.
Still lots to sort out in the SEC. Now in the ACC, as Sid teased about a minute ago, this team unfortunately couldn't take advantage as well. Miami, their playoff chances, you can go say bye-bye to them. They were upset by SMU 26-20 in overtime. I actually was able to see this game. Don't ask me how. But yeah, I was able to watch this game. Jay Hardy, 1 yard TD in overtime. Cemented that upset. Shout out to Rhett Lashley, the coach at SMU. He got a new contract, so he got a little up in pay raise and added 2 years to that. So for people who are wondering, he's going to go to Penn State or LSU. He's staying in SMU. Good for him. Unfortunately, Carson Beck once again, pretending to be Carson Beck that we saw over at Georgia. Unfortunately, he had 2 interceptions, including the second one that killed Miami's playoff chances. So, so nice win for SMU, but playoffs and ACC title hopes, Miami, bye-bye.
It's out the window. Yeah, it's out the window. I had a chance to watch the fourth quarter in overtime. I forgot who that kicker was for SMU. You thought that he made the kick to tie the game. I believe it was at 20. It should have been tied at 20, but the replay showed that he made the kick, but the refs disagreed. So that kick was was called as a miss, but he came back and made the kick that forced overtime. I had that strong feeling in my stomach that Miami, they didn't play their best, but you thought they were going to do enough just to get by, but nope. Like I said, shout out to the Mustangs. They got it done behind their star quarterback, Mr. Kevin Jennings, 365 yards and a touchdown pass. But Jordan Hudson was the story for them, 11 catches for 136 yards. MCU did the little things down the stretch while Miami fell apart. Like you said, the ACC title game gone. I think perhaps technically it's on life support for the college football playoff, but realistically, you can say goodbye to that too.
Yeah, Sam Kelton. That's who you're thinking. Kelton, I should say. You should think of that. Good on him. He could have that could have been that miss could have been demoralizing for him. But look, he came in. Got that. As time expired, forced overtime and such. And also shout out to Eric Dickerson and Craig James from back in the day. They were actually there. I think I heard Craig James say this is his first trip there in like 40 plus years. Yeah. Yeah, well, also Pony Excess. We'll talk about. Well, how ironic now they can actually do that now, but again, that's a whole different topic. But I think Craig James. I think Craig James. I think there were a lot of other guys from those 80s SWTs. A lot of those guys they haven't been there in like 40 years. I know Dickerson's still been very involved in the last decade. So I guess now they're embracing now thanks to NIL. So there you go.
Yep. Notre Dame gets by Boston College 25-10 for the Fighting Irish. CJ Card 299 yards, passing 2 touchdowns, and their star running back, Mr. Jeremiah Love, 17 carries, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, nice one for Notre Dame in a hostile environment. That place was rocking out there and just outside Boston, Chestnut Hill. They had the chance to talk about what BC did, but you saw why I think they're like 1-8 now. But Oklahoma got a big win on the road, 33-27 over Tennessee. Again, I had to find a way to watch this game because I really wanted to watch it. John Mateer, 159 yards and a TD, but it was Xavier Robinson and Mateer too. He had 80 yards. Robinson had 115 yards. They each had a rushing TD. Joey Aguilar, 3 TDs, but it was a defense from Oklahoma. 3 interceptions, I should say, for 2 interceptions, I should say, for Aguilar. And Oklahoma with a nice big win, keeping their SEC hopes alive.
Yeah, they're 3-2 in the conference. Regarding talking about the Oklahoma Sooners, 3-2 in conference play, 7-2 overall. Tennessee, we talked about them last year. I thought they had one of the best defensive units in college football. Totally the opposite this year. You could kiss theirs. I didn't think they really had a chance anyway at the college football playoff, but even I thought they had an outside shot that was vanished by losing at home by 6. So I think Oklahoma's for real. They maybe can cause some problems for somebody, but as you mentioned, Robinson had a great game for them. 16 carries, 115 yards in the score.
Virginia stays undefeated in the ACC, beating Cal 31-21. Louisville beat Tech. Utah just throttled Cincinnati. Michigan held off Purdue. West Virginia upset Houston. 21-17, I should say, SC over Nebraska. And the big loss for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola is out for the year with a broken fibula. Ugh, that's just brutal. And SC with their slim Big Ten hopes. We'll see. A lot has to happen for them to sneak in there. Illinois beat Rutgers. They took care of business. So shout out to Luke Altmaier, who's actually the leading rusher, 88 rushing yards. Well, you won't see that very often with him, but he can run, so yeah, not a big deal there. Arizona State beats Iowa State, and shout out to our girl Layla Rahimi, of course, friend of the show. Her North Texas got a big win against Navy. Now they're right there in the driver's seat for that division, the American Conference. We'll see what happens there in the next couple of weeks. And your buddy PJ Fleck got they're going back to another bowl game. They needed overtime, but they rode that boat over Michigan State.
Yes.
Up in the Twin Cities.
Yep. So congratulations to the Golden Gophers program. I know we talked about this team at various points of the year, LaKeena. I want to talk about the Texas A&M Aggies. I know they're still undefeated, but check out these numbers. With quarterback Marcel Reed, rushing attempts 13, the rest of the team 27. With Marcel Reed at quarterback, yards 108 yards rushing per game. The rest of the team 116. And average touchdowns averaging 2 each per game. We talk about the Aggies. I know they struggled to win the last couple of weeks. I believe they game against South Carolina I'm referring to from a couple of weeks ago. We said we started to take this team seriously, but do you think they'll still have a chance to finish out the season undefeated?
Well, like I said, they got Texas and that Friday after Thanksgiving. They got South Carolina. I believe, that time hasn't been announced yet. Stanford, they go out of conference there, but that's Ohio Valley Conference. I'm about Stanford and Texas, so they could perhaps maybe go to that Texas game undefeated. But again, like I said, whoever they play in the SEC title game, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Georgia, Oklahoma, if they still got an outside shot, Ole Miss, they still got a chance. As well, some Texas. So yeah, still a lot to sort out in the SEC. Yeah, but as long as they don't trip up, I mean, they should be fine. And I think Reed will definitely get an invite to the Heisman ceremony. Now, Bama, look, they got to face LSU. Alabama, they got to face LSU again. We'll see what their mindset is now that Brian Kelly's gone. But yeah, I think the SEC still got a lot to go on. So. Like I said, these next 3 or 4 weeks is really gonna the test, like who are the contenders, who are the pretenders.
Yeah, and speaking of Texas A&M, their next game is Saturday. This coming Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, as they'll travel to Missouri to take on the Tigers. Texas, number 3 in the country, Mizzou at number 19. So another tough road test for the Aggies. Now, who's your top 3? I don't have a list yet. I'll probably have it out by Friday. But who's your top 3 or top 5 candidates for the Heisman Trophy this year? Call me crazy. I know it has not been much discussion about it this year, but call me crazy. I think this has been a unknown wide open field in years.
Yeah, you gotta think, like I said, Reed's probably going to be one. Julius saying who, he was at Alabama for a little bit. Yeah. I love the fact that Nick Saban called himself a dumbass without actually calling himself a dumbass. but I digress there. But yeah, but yeah, you gotta think he's a favorite. I know Vandal has him as a favorite. You gotta think Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. You gotta think he's gonna be, a guy who's gonna be right there. Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, those are like your top 6 guys so far. So, but again, like I said, a lot need to be decided these next 3 or 4 weeks. These next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be the thing where you'll find out, who can separate themselves not only for the playoffs and the conference championship, but also the Heisman as well. So these next 3 or 4 weeks are going to tell the story.
Couple more names before we close out this college football talk segment. Haynes King of Georgia Tech, even though they lost, in Kawan Lacey, the star running back from Ole Miss.
Yeah, you could definitely. At least you could probably say that King, that loss to NC State, even though he was the reason why they lost, but that might hurt him a little bit. So, but again, I think there will be 4 or 5 guys that are definitely going to get the invite this year. Who will be those 5? I might have named 5 of those guys, but again, like I said, a lot can still happen between now and near the end of the month.
All right, as we on our next show on Friday regarding college football, we'll preview Northwestern as they'll travel out west to face USC. Obviously, now that's a much tougher game for the Wildcats now, since USC won without Dylan Raiola being injured for Nebraska on the flip side. Tulane and Memphis. Indiana visit Penn State, Georgia and Mississippi State, BYU and Texas Tech. That should be a good sneaky game. Of course, you got Ohio State and Purdue, and of course Texas A&M and Missouri we talked about earlier. And you got Washington, Wisconsin, and of course LSU and Alabama leading off the nightcap, and of course Navy and Notre Dame. We'll preview some of those games coming up on our next episode on Friday here on Second City Sports.
Yeah, Navy, of course, they got their first loss of the season at the hands of North Texas. So we'll see what their mindset is. They got a pretty solid defense. So again, we'll see what happens there. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Cindy Brown with you are our sports potpourri segment here now. The college hoop season. The college hoop season for both men and women is kicking off tonight. You got the defending champ of Florida Gators. They face Arizona at 6 o'clock. I think this is a tournament, I believe, and that game will be on TNT in Vegas. This game is in Vegas, a Hall of Fame series, so that game will be on TNT and streaming on HBO Max. So you'll definitely guys gonna be able to check that out as well. So yeah, I think a few other matchups. If I could just get this game up here. Of course, you got Arkansas. They're playing tonight as well against Southern. Tennessee against Mercer. Michigan State against Colgate. You got Houston and Lehigh. Iowa State against FDU. Fairleigh Dickinson and Alabama. North Dakota. Kansas. They face Green Bay. No, not the Packers. The Green Bay Phoenix. They're in the Horizon League.
Is that the team that Doug Golly coaches?
Yes. Yep. That's him. One the same. We'll leave all.
Oh, what a shock!
We'll leave all. No, North Carolina. They face Scottie Pippen's alma mater, Central Arkansas. So like I said, I know people are not in college hoops mode just yet. I know the women, they got a full set of games as well, starting tonight. But again, I know
they're playing in Paris. I know that a few teams are playing in Paris.
Yeah. I think let me see if I get that schedule up. But yeah, so again, we'll get more to college hoops, as get into the season. But yeah, it's exciting time. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, one more topic before we close out with Old School TV Monday. Back to baseball, they released a ballot for this year's Hall of Fame class, which includes a couple of names from the quote-unquote steroid era. I know you had the names there. You'll go through them. We'll discuss. And I was excited, but the cynic in me says otherwise. You read off the list, please.
Hold on. Let me get my get this thing up here, and I'm trying to see where can I go to get the list. I know Roger Clemens is on there. I know I saw that. Let me see. I know CBS got it. All right. So you got Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Don Mattingly, who I'm surprised he's not already in. You got Dale Murphy, Gary Sheffield, Fernando Valenzuela. Of course, if you get in posthumously, of course, he passed away a couple months ago.
Well, actually, last year.
Well, yeah, last year. So yeah, I'm surprised maybe he might get a little bit. Carlos Delgado, he's another guy that might that he could probably get. I know he was this could be his first year on the ballot. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how all this goes, because this year era committee and such. This is a complimentary era committee that covers players from Premier League for contributions to the game since 1980. So since these are all quote unquote modern day, not modern day guys, but I guess within the last 40 or 50 years. So that's why you're seeing this list. Not to mention the list that we already talked about earlier this year. So yeah, this is kind of how that list sort of shook out. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how baseball does this, because it's gonna you got a couple of these guys were suspicious of steroid use. So
I know we have I know we have Big Poppy. David Ortiz is in there. Allegedly, Ivan Rodriguez, he's in there. So, and I get that argument. If you have those guys that are suspected that are in there, put the others in, which I am on that side of the argument. Now, Gary Sheffield, he was one of the first people when I started watching baseball. It was a few years in for me watching baseball. He was going for a triple crown when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, we saw what he did throughout his career with the Dodgers and that 1 year with the Atlanta Braves, of course, with the New York Yankees to finish up his career 20 plus years ago. So he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Of course, Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I know it's a big PR hit why he's not in there, but uh, those two had the statistics to back it up. Of course, Roger Clemens, he has more than enough credentials to be in the Hall of Fame. All three of those should be in, by the way. But the one person that should be in that's not getting enough pub, but he should get in is Dale Murphy. I know he ended his career the year before the Braves went and lost the World Series to the excuse me, the Minnesota Twins in '91. He was the Atlanta Braves in the '80s, where no one gave a damn about them because outside of 1982, with the great Joe Torre managing through the playoffs in that starting shortened season, they sucked in the '80s. He was one of the few reasons why the Atlanta Braves existed on the baseball mat during that time. So I think think Dale Murphy's in for sure. Like you said, maybe Carlos Delgado is not knocking his career because he was a very good hitter during that time, because he played during that time too with Bonds and Rodriguez and all of them. I think he'll be the safe pick. But outside of that, I don't think anybody else is getting in, unfortunately. But if it was up to me, Clemens, Bonds, and Sheffield all getting in. Because they were great players before allegedly taking steroids.
Yeah, I would put Murphy in there as well, because I remember Murphy in those.
Yeah, like I said, he's going in for sure.
Yeah, because I think, look, like you said, I think he was one of those. He was kind of the main reason that Atlanta actually was, even though they weren't relevant, he kind of kept them in the news. 7-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Glove Award winner, 4-time Silver Slugger, and the Clemente Award recipient all the way back in 1988, of course, for his humanitarian. I think he still does a lot of humanitarian stuff still. So, I'm kind of like, I'm rooting for him to get in as well. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be like a minimum amount of guys that that'll get in. I think it's the same thing with the you gotta get 75%. So again, we'll see if those any one of those guys get that 75%. I think Sheffield should get it as well. I always felt that he was very underrated. So, I don't see why. Yeah. So Clemens and Bonds, look, I've said my piece about them. Like, you got to let them in. Look, you can't look, there are a couple guys that are already on there in the Hall of Fame that also had suspicions of steroids too. I won't say those names. So you got to let them in as well. So just saying.
Excuse me, 2 more names are on that ballot. Don Manley, I'm surprised. I thought he was.
I thought he was already in.
Fame, but I guess not. Me too. But he was on that list, and Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent might be one of those guys you might have to wait a little bit, though, I think.
Yeah. But Don Manley should be in the Hall of Fame. I know he excuse me, he went into the playoffs his last year in 1995. Of course, he missed the World Series in '96.
I know, just missed
he retired, but he was Mr. Yankee throughout his whole career. And he was very consistent at the plate. I know he's on the coaching staff with Toronto now. He missing another chance to get a World Series, but it wasn't his fault. But he had a hell of a career, and I thought he was in too, but I guess not.
Yeah, so like I said, this will all the names that will be in the Hall of Fame will be announced, I believe, next month. So again, if people are gonna be stubborn, certain voters are gonna be stubborn about this. But that's going to be interesting to see what happens here. So yeah, well, and not to mention some of the guys that just missed the Hall of Fame this past year. So yeah, well, we'll talk a little bit about that down the line. But we'll see these contemporary era guys, if any of these guys get in this year.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you, wrapping up today's show. I think for the first time in a couple of weeks, we get to say this. We should do this after every show on Mondays, except for during this regular season for the Chicago Bears. We'll get to that on future shows. But around this time every Monday, we like to conclude every Monday show with something that makes you feel good, something makes you want to reminisce. It's the return of Old School TV Monday. And this week, we'll salute the 80s TV sitcom Kate and Allie. That's right. It was an American sitcom TV series that aired on CBS from March 19th of 1984 until May 22nd, 1989, starring Susan St. James and Jane Curtin as 2 divorced mothers who decide to live together and raise their children in the same home. The series was created by Sherry Corbin. The show stars Susan St. James as the free-spirited Katie McArdle and Jane Curtin as her more conservative childhood friend Allie Lowell. After both women divorced, they decided to share a brownstone in New York City's Greenwich Village neighborhood and raise their families together. The show also starred Ari Myers as Katie's daughter Emma, and Frederick Kohler and Allison Smith as Allie's children, Chip and Janine. Both Kate and Allie were portrayed as independent, smart women. Kate and Allie dated men regularly and were shown as wise to romantic games, but not as averse to remarrying if the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a very, a very like groundbreaking. Yeah, it was definitely a groundbreaking show because they were, dealing with shows about divorced women and such. Because there was an article that came out, I think, like last year that said that, well, divorced women are living, living together to help raise their kids and such. Well, Kate and Allie did that 40 years ago, folks. So, the same, just saying. And I think they won 3 Emmys. I think Jane Curtin, who I adore.
Yeah.
She's so funny. She will do her other show, Throw a Rock from the Sun, and a later down the line. But yeah, she's hilarious. Of course, Susan J. James, they played off each other very well. I love the actors that played the kids. They were all 3 of them were great and such. And they definitely kind of like sort of like broke the mold, if you will, for women. This is a little bit before the Golden Girls too. So they kind of like this. I feel like this is a very underrated sitcom. They dealt with dating, like they dealt with dating, finding jobs, and Allie went back to school, and of course raising their kids and still having their exes in their lives and such. So yeah, it was definitely funny. It aired on CBS. It was in a tough time slot, but look, it lasts for 5 years. I know, of course, spoiler alert for those who haven't watched the show, Allie did remarry in later seasons. But I think to me, I think the show kind of jumped the shark when Emma went to college. I feel like because when Ari Myers, in real life, she ended up going to, I think she went to like Columbia, I think, or I think it was Princeton, one of those Ivy League schools. And I think once she left, to go to college full time, that kind of ended the series, I feel like, because that dynamic kind of broke a little bit.
Yeah. And it had one failed spin-off, which lasted 2 episodes, and we'll get to that in a second. But it was a total of 6 seasons, 122 episodes. It was a replacement show in 1984, which aired 6 episodes. Of course, it got picked up by CBS after that over the summer to remain on the air for the next 5 years. Another fun fact about the show, notable guest stars included Ben Stiller, the very first episode, Kelsey Grammer.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll do Frasier at some point on Old School TV Monday. William H. Macy. I think we did Sports Night at one point.
Yes.
I think we did. Lindsay Wagner. Mercedes Rule.
Yep.
Before the 90s talk show scene, folks, this next name you may recognize, Ricky Lake.
Yep. And
before Hairspray, too.
Yeah, and also Pat Richardson was also in one of the, I think one of the early episodes before. Of course, she did a lot of stuff before she landed on Home Improvement. We'll get to that show also at some point, but yeah, there was definitely a who's who of guest stars in that show, and like I said, I know the cast. I know they did like a reunion. I think a couple years ago. I know they all still keep in touch and such, and I know Susan and Jane. I know they stayed in touch as well. So I know Jay supported her when she lost her. Susan sadly lost her youngest son, but years ago. But yeah, they stayed in touch, and like I said, they said that I think I remember Susan saying that a show like that could probably work now because again, it's so if they want to do a reboot, Kate and Allie reboot, I think they could do it. I mean, it is kind of like it's kind of a trend nowadays. So yeah.
Yeah, and also to other notable guest stars, the late great John Hurd. Deborah Joe Ruff, that 70s show, anybody? I think we did that show. Marilyn Cooper, Susie Essman, Joe Namath. Yes, that Joe Namath, folks.
He was.
And Krista Miller starred as Susan St. James' real-life niece in Peggy Pope.
Yep. So, yeah. So, and it's unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere, but all the episodes are all on YouTube in order.
Yes.
So, yeah. So just, go to Kate and Allie episodes, all 6 seasons, all, I think
122.
120 episodes are all on YouTube. So you guys have to check it out for free.
All right. So for this week's Old School TV Monday Salute, we salute the 1980 sitcom Kate and Allie. LaKeena, take us home.
You can follow McKenna McGee on the Twitter, LaKeena McGee on IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, if you miss our old school TV Monday segment or our NFL Power Hour or anything else or an interview, you can catch the Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on the Facebook and YouTube channels. Again, you can catch the replays, of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellows. So if you miss anything, no worries. You can catch it anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channel. So it's all right there.
And we will provide.
All right, folks, enjoy the Monday Night Football if you can tonight. Also, your men's and women's college hoops, of course, the NBA. Baseball as they get ready to give out their postseason awards. They had the Go Awards. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, congrats to Nico Horner of your Chicago Cubs. He got one.
Yeah, four in a row for Ian Happ as well. So at PCA 2 got his first. So the Cubs did pretty well. I thought that Colson Montgomery was going to get one for the White Sox, but but
maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, so enjoy all the sports. This is a busy time of year, folks. Enjoy the weather. Just be good to each other. This is Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you for Sid. I'm LaKeena, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Dub Bears, I guess. Holla!
Yeah.